welcome to a special weekend edition of Stand Up, where I have a wonderful conversation with my good friends Kimberly, Karen, Vikki, and Frances, or as they go by here on the podcast, the ladies of The Hue. This is our conversation from mid-December, the end of 2022, and we talked about some of the issues that were, of course, in the news, including the Britney Griner prison swap. Had an awesome conversation about wokeness and what woke means and where it came from and how they see it, and a lot of holiday-themed stuff, which was extremely hilarious and poignant. I really love this conversation. I really love our chemistry and our friendship. All four of these women began as listeners to the show and then became friends, and I would say really good friends at this point. They're people who I trust a lot, and women who I just love to talk to and with and be around. So I hope that we all do get to be around each other at some point and meet at some point. But in lieu of that, I love our talks and I love sharing them with you. I think they give a great perspective because each one of these ladies has their own perspective, their own voice, their own opinions, and they all have a lot of humor and experience and intellect and wisdom. They're from different parts of the country, different ages, different life experiences, and I just love it, and I think that you will as well. And I should also say that all four of them made their voices and their personalities aware to me and the rest of the gang at our hangouts over the years, and that's kind of how the band formed. I kind of reached out and said, you guys are always great and have a good thing with each other within the larger conversation. I think it's important to platform voices, a wide variety of voices. They're all black women, and I thought it would be fun, and it is fun, which is why we've done this now several times. This is the fourth time we've sat down. You can hear the ladies in episode 615, 639, and 693. This is installment number 4 of The Hue on Stand Up. And, of course, because they are such a hit and there are so many talented people in our listening audience, the great Gareth Sever, who is one half of Buckets and Boards, has written several theme songs for regular guests, said, let me come up with something for the ladies from The Hue. So let's start with that. Take it away, Gareth Sever.
Karen, Vikki, Kimberly, and Frances, like a fully melanated real-life version of Sisterhood of Traveling Pantses. But they're wearing their own clothes, and the magic is their own. When they get together, their bond grows, and they know no one is alone. Speaking words of wisdom, bringing the her to his dom. Everybody sit down, buckle up and take a listen. You can learn more from these women than the endless throne of droves of politicians. My best advice to you is to listen, really listen to the ladies of The Hue.
Amazing. Gareth Sever, everybody. What a great, great theme song that really captures what we're trying to do here. As always, thank you, pal. Go check out Gareth on Instagram at Gareth Sever at bucketsandboards.com. He's not doing it for the plugs, by the way, and I don't want to take anything away from this. I know he wouldn't, but that was just so great. What a great contributor you have been. All right, now let's get to that conversation with the ladies from The Hue, and just as a way to get into it, where we started, and we're always kind of making fun of each other here in this conversation and in the texts, beating up on each other, making fun of each other. They'll all direct their fire on me any chance they can get, which is why I took a preemptive attack on Kimberly, and this was really before I said we would be recording, but I made a comment that was purposely provocative about my lack of interest or understanding or appreciation for a lot of music that would be considered like black genres, and so I said that to kind of get a reaction, especially from Kimberly. She had just put a bite of food into her mouth when I said that. And ladies and gentlemen, here we go with the ladies from The Hue. I think I don't like a lot of black music, and I think I need to.
What are you talking about?
Like music genres that are predominantly black I like several artists.
That's every genre.
Oh my God. Could you have any more macaroni and cheese in your mouth?
Actually, that's the sandwich now.
God,
it's delicious.
Damn it.
I got the sandwich.
am so
a mess.
I didn't eat today. I didn't eat today. I've been busy working. Sorry.
I know, but you're just jumping down my throat while you had a sandwich in your mouth. And that combination was so intimidating. I have this bit. I'm trying to do this bit on like the black R&B. I think it's R&B Christmas song where the guy comes in and kind of does a voiceover over the music. And
we're not trashing the Temptations.
No, we're not doing.
Is that a Temptations thing?
What kind of death wish do you have?
Well, I think it's hilarious to
be
educated about it. Well, you tell me then about it, because when I hear...
Guess what? I'm sorry, but the best thing about Christmas is soul Christmas. I mean, the fact that you can talk about Santa Claus going to the ghetto and make a song about it, and it be catchy, and everybody sings it, and I didn't even know what a ghetto was when I was a kid when I was singing that song. But I loved it.
What song is that?
James Brown.
Okay, so I think we've...
And then Mommy kissing Santa Claus. Come on now. Tell me what white person sing a song called Mama Kissing Santa Claus?
Recording in progress.
Oh,
shit. Okay, we are off.
We can start.
Hello.
There they are. Kimberly already got started, and I hadn't hit record on the video, but don't worry, I got all of those grievances on the audio. Very happy to see all of you, and thank you very much for joining me. There's several topics and questions I wanted to go over, but let's check in real quick and make sure everybody knows the ladies. Karen Madison, thank you for joining me. You are doing well here in mid-December. Thank you for joining all of us.
Sure. Just acclimating to the winter weather, trying to survive.
Approaching the shortest day of the year, Francis, there in North Carolina. How are you feeling about the holidays and in general here at the end of 2022?
It's a wonky one. Haven't put up any Christmas lights. Haven't put up my tree yet. A little off this year. It's super cloudy, but I just got back from sunny Tampa, so I still have that in my veins, and I'm loving it.
How long were you there, and did you have good weather?
Beautiful weather. I was there from Thursday until Monday night. Glorious. It was like 70s, almost 80 degrees some days.
Hold on to that feeling while you hopefully get some lights and a tree, slacker. Kimberly Richardson is here, and she is joining us just post-meal. Thank you for being here, as always. And how are things with you there? You're always busy.
Well, I'm still eating, but I will put my sandwich down to respond. I'm good. I have to say, I don't put up Christmas trees, so I'm the dark house on the block, but that's all right, because it's just me. And yeah, all's good. All is well.
Well, Vikki, I was going to ask you a question, but I think Kimberly just got us started with a very divisive situation. She is a person who doesn't put up a tree. She's a new homeowner, ladies. Vikki, good to see you. What do you think about this?
We have not decorated like we decorated when our son was young. And now that our baby is 28, we decorate when we feel like it. So I pulled the tree down from the attic. Don't judge. I pulled the tree down from the attic, and it's in the living room in the middle of the floor going, what are you going to do with me?
At least you took yours out. Mine's in my storage, and it's going to stay there.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so
I did look at buying a tree, but they were like $300. I was like, it ain't that serious. I could put that money somewhere else.
Oh,
I have a tree guy.
You mean buying?
Yeah.
You mean buying a fake tree for $300 or $400? Treeflation with a real tree. I don't know what they're going for this year, but I'm in a room with a bunch of people.
No, I don't want to burn out my house. I'm good.
You're worried about an electric fire with a real tree?
I don't know. I've seen enough movies to know that somehow a tree becomes an inflammable object. The next thing you know, people ain't got no house for Christmas. So I rather just keep with a fake tree or no tree.
Yeah. Do any of you miss?
And they messy. They messy because you got to keep them fed. You got to keep them watered and
feed those trees.
I know. They not like They just sit. They gotta be. And then
It's a plan.
Pine needles everywhere. That's a work. I come home not to work.
Is that controversial to have a artificial tree versus a real tree?
I think some people still believe that a real tree is the only way to go. But I think we've got valid points here. First of all, getting that thing to stand up correctly in the stands, that's always difficult. I always remember that being a hot ass mess. And then those pine needles in the carpet, you'll be piercing your skin in July when you're barefoot in your own living room. Like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever had one fall?
Christmas.
Because I've had a tree fall and I thought the world was ending. I jumped up so fast. That joint was like, it fell on my DVD cabinet. It was madness. So
I have seen remnants of past trees from people's units in the hallway. It was a mess. And I probably had to pay extra in my rent to cover the cost of that cleanup, because it's not that I don't have a problem with, but I love reefs. I love a reef. A nice live reef is fine because it's outside. It's not in my house. When it's time to take it down, I can just walk it over to the garbage can, drop it in the garbage, and move on. Unless you want to recycle. If you can, you should. However, and then think about the cost. So this is annual cost of having to buy a tree. Whereas you pay one cost and hopefully that tree lasts you a generation. And, then at some point you get bored of it. I mean, my parents, the last time I decorated a real Christmas tree was probably when I was in high school. And when I left my parents' home, they got a tree that they wouldn't even put decorations on. It was just a tree that lit up.
Right.
So.
Well, you make a real interesting point about the combination of a fake tree and a real wreath. I also thought it was kind of funny that you made such a pragmatic comment about you really trash trees, but then you said a wreath is a good idea, and I think you're giving a lot of people an out and a bit of permission, and I'm into it.
Thank you.
So, but you keep saying fake tree instead of artificial tree, and I'm getting offended and triggered by that.
Why?
Because it's artificial. It's not fake. It's a real artificial tree.
But come on now, we don't say artificial hair. We say fake hair.
No, we do not.
We say my hair because once I got
my hair, stop.
amongst the circles.
Once it's mine, it's mine.
It's mine.
It's still when it's sitting on that shelf and we tried to figure out what it is.
This is like the eyeglass store.
There's no such thing as an eyeglass store.
No, it wasn't even the eyeglass store, Francis. It was the glasses store.
The glasses store. My bad.
It really should be. It's the eye doctor.
For those of you who don't know, this is a private text message conversation where once again I got ridiculed for the language I use. Usually it's a reference, and I said to the ladies in a text something about I was at the glasses store. And the attack and the abuse that I suffered as a result was unrelenting. I'm sitting there trying to talk to the guy at the glasses store, and all I'm reading is ridicule that I called it glasses store, and I was trying not to laugh. So,
because a drinking glass is a glass, isn't that a glasses store?
Right. So let me ask you though. You said the best.
Now you're trying to change the subject when we talk about your comments. Continue. No, keep going. This is your show.
Here's what I was going to ask. You started to say something about the best thing about Christmas is a soul Christmas or something. And I wondered what the other ladies heard when you said that. And I don't know what you're talking about.
Because you don't like black music. So continue.
I don't. There's a lot of genres of music that I would say is probably dominated by black artists, creators that I'm not as much into as I am the whites.
You're not really into music, so let's just first of all say that you are not really able to I can't let you dominate this conversation about this topic because you know like 4 songs.
I've never really got into R&B is all I was trying to say.
Which is blasphemy.
Do you like bass?
You had
Yes.
black
You
roommates
might not like
in college.
bass.
I was mostly introduced to it in college, and I didn't really get into it. Like, it was Tevin Campbell. I remember him.
Okay, Tevin Campbell.
Wait a minute.
First of
Wait
all,
a minute.
Tevin Campbell. Wait, Tevin Campbell.
No,
Do
don't
not.
don't step on Tevin Campbell.
Yeah.
But he's taking Tevin Campbell
We
as
will
like,
protect Tevin Campbell.
Exactly.
hey, that's fine. Protect Kevin. But what you know, what I'm trying to say is that
When you think of rhythm and blues, you don't.
That's the case. That was the 1990s.
Yes.
That's when he
Which is
got in.
great.
So for most of us, we grew up in households with music,
Facts.
right?
Mhm.
So Saturday morning for our household, Saturday morning, there's music playing and we're cleaning. And then, because our family is very musical, my brother writes, my brother-in-law plays for several well-known artists. My sisters sang background for several well-known artists. We're a musical family, and we entertained each other in that way. So music was very important in our house. So there are some people, although Pete is probably the only one I know, but there are some people who didn't grow up with music in that way, that music was such a central focus, because we did praise and worship for church. We sang in the Sunshine Band when we were little. We were the little group that sang before my dad preached. So music was an integral part of our upbringing. And it's just weird that there's people who don't have that kind of connection to music.
That's all.
I don't mean weird in a bad way. I'm just saying it's foreign to me, of people who don't really have that connection to music.
I grew up in a record shop. So like literally my aunt owned a record shop. And so that's where I spent a lot of my youth in, as a music space. Worked at an amphitheater. So music is a part of my genes.
That's pretty cool. And by the way, when I'm looked up like the most popular R&B artists of all time.
Tevin Campbell was at the top.
Tevin Campbell's not on the list, surprisingly.
He's not.
But I would say the one that is the most famous and that I like and always have is Marvin Gaye. I always like Marvin Gaye, and there's a lot of artists on here. But I will just say this: not only was there not a lot of music in my house growing up, there was no ethnic. There was nothing but a pretty one genre of rock and roll, pretty much.
So you didn't watch Hee Haw on Saturdays?
No, we didn't. We didn't watch Hee Haw. No.
Huh.
My dad did not like that show.
Okay. So I remember watching Soul Train a lot.
Me too.
And then Solid Gold.
Uh-huh.
So we would see the people. And then I was also, a late, almost teenager or teenager when MTV and videos came out. So that was a big deal. So music was a thing. We had record players. We had this huge record player when I was little that like took up half the room, and like you had to lift it up like this to put the record down. Like, we like different music. My brother liked the Beatles, and he would buy Beatles albums and I would buy Michael Jackson albums. So we always had music playing.
Francis, the other three ladies all told us about their music in their life and home growing up. Well, what about you? What role did it play?
Same thing. It was everything. My dad was really big into jazz. So he had a record player, still has a record player. Whole basement is filled with records, CDs. He's huge audiophile. And then he played the drums. I played the piano. I wanted to play the drums. So yeah, listening to music all the time.
Were any of you into like Twisted Sister or Rat or?
Yeah, here's the thing.
Quiet Riot?
Yes.
Okay.
Videos.
Living in Chicago, that is part of the ecosystem. We have our jazz fest, our blues fest. We have all different types of festivals that bring different music, and it's free. So the Taste of Chicago, at some point, you had different artists come into, and you listen to music. And then you go up to Milwaukee, you have Summerfest. Summerfest is where you have a plethora of music, and it's like a whole venue. So there was so much access to different types of music. One of my favorite, bands growing up I don't want to be shamed, but I had like bands that I liked, and I would like be the only black person in the space.
Blues Traveler.
Huh?
What band was it?
I'm not.
Just say it.
Blues Traveler?
No, what? No.
Oh, Dave Matthews.
No.
Yes, it was. It
wasn't Dave Matthews.
It was.
Was it really?
One of my top favorite bands.
Why is that considered such white boy music? They had like black people on like brass instruments in the band. Like it's a genre. I don't know. Is it really white?
No, I think it's because it's Dave Matthews and it's Dave.
It's a very white thing for sure, though.
It's not because they have a lot of like. I listen to the station. I do enjoy, but let's get beyond that.
Okay.
I enjoy music. So growing up as a kid, I love Wham and Boy George and George Michael and Duran Duran and all these other groups. Like I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to like other race music, I guess. Music was never brought to me in this subset of genres. It was just music.
Right.
And so I enjoy all types. I love jazz because my grandfather was really into jazz. My father is a huge jazz fanatic. So I grew up around jazz music. So I love listening to certain instrumentals. So Kenny G, I love me some Kenny G.
Wow.
I don't have no problem saying that when I was growing up. I listened to Kenny G. I mean.
What about Yanni?
I love me some Yanni, right?
Let's go.
So, I mean,
I don't think there's anything wrong with having a different, a wide array of tastes. There's some things that would give me a headache right now, though. Like I'm not listening to Thrasher. Like that's going to get me angst ridden because I probably need to relax. So that isn't my cup of tea. But everything is built upon each other. No one music came by itself. It's built upon something else. So they're all interrelated.
I want to ask you about a few different things. So forgive me for jumping around, but I want everybody to get an opportunity to give their take on a couple of stories from the news. And I love talking about your lives and childhoods and traditions and everything. We can always do that. But I do want to get your take on a couple things and your perspective on things. And as you know, I'm obsessed with this Newsmax anchor who took his daughter to the American Girl doll store in New York City and couldn't find a white doll. I'm going to play the clip for everybody to hear and get your reaction.
So you want people to stop buying American Girls and all the stuff, the accessories that you can buy as well. How long has this been going on with American Girls? I took my 6-year-old to the store in Rockefeller Center, like the American Girl experience. And, typically girls that are into American Girls, they get a doll that looks like them. And you can get an outfit that, so you can match your doll. We were in there, and my daughter's just a cute little 6-year-old white girl. We couldn't find anybody that looked like my daughter. It was the whole place. It was like wokeified. It was kind of a bizarre experience.
Okay, so
well, maybe because all the white dolls were taken because those are the people that come to the American store and buy dolls that expensive.
So he was just
your eyes were closed when you see the white dolls.
I'm just gonna say liar.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. He saw more brown dolls than he's used to.
It's a lie.
And so the white ones that might have been peppered in there, salted in there, didn't stick out. I don't trust that dude.
I don't believe that. Have you ever been to American Doll store?
Absolutely not.
I've seen them from the outside.
Okay, go inside that store. You know that conversation ain't true.
But we know it. We knew, we don't have to go in to know that. Like Francis said, it's probably the fact that there's 4, instead of 100 white doll babies, there's 97 or 96.
Elizabeth, Stephanie.
Oh my God. What is happening?
The more honest take, if there were he's the whole woke thing is pretty honest because it's just, we'll talk about, I want to get your take on what it means, but it's clearly just a word in place of other words. But if he were more honest, he would have been like, I walked into American Girl doll store and there were so many black dollies. There were a lot of black and brown dollies there.
So when you're accustomed, the sayings, when you're accustomed to privilege, equity feels like oppression.
I felt oppressed by how many black and brown dollies there were.
Right. So say that instead of saying there was no white dolls. We know.
My daughter has.
But then he's telling people to stop going there. Take your money out of there. Take your dolls back. So it's like, so now when it does have, black people and brown dolls that are being represented, he's like, nope.
Listen.
Don't let him have it.
Right.
Oh, I see. So I'm on the American Girl store. I can see why. They have a whole theme called Truly Me, and it is a very diverse and very one little girl got her some curly curls. Who knows what she is?
Well, but we know that setup at Rockefeller Center is a big store. There's big displays, and there is no way that there wasn't overly representation of.
Can you imagine?
That's a cute little doll. Ooh, look at that with fatigues. I like that.
You think you go there?
Put one in your basket.
You pick out a doll that your daughter picks out a doll that looks like her. Brown hair. My daughter's case, brown hair, blue eyes, this color skin, these clothes, and you take it home. It's like $100. It's probably a lot more than that now. And this guy's saying, take those dolls back. Go ahead. Try to take your daughter's American Girl doll from her. No one's returning their dolly. Those dolls are expensive, and you are connected to it. The idea that you would return it is hilarious. But get to the more important point, which is, what is woke? What are we talking about? I hear it all day, every day. And
ask your white friends. I don't know.
It is a word that black people created that white people have stolen and are using in a very pejorative way. Fair to say?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not across the board, obviously, but there are certain groups that have weaponized it.
Well,
so there was a conversation last week or the week before, maybe, about the lawyers in Florida who had to explain what woke meant.
Yes.
And they said, alert to injustice and discrimination in society, especially racism. Okay, I'm cool with that. I'm woke.
Well, according to the Urban Dictionary, because that's where I get my definitions from.
Next to Blumpkin.
Conversation.
Rusty trombone.
Hey, this is a family show, and rusty trombone is my favorite thing.
I was going to say, we were just talking about that.
What? Somebody's going to have.
You didn't look it up, did you? Don't look it up.
I sure did.
Oh, dear.
What is it?
Poor Vikki.
I will not repeat what Blumpkin means.
What?
Nope. I will not be caught on these airwaves saying that. I'll say other stuff, but not that.
Francis, for the record, took it there.
I did. We'll leave it to the people to look it up on their own.
Exactly, with the Urban Dictionary reference. But, yeah, so woke had to...
Francis! I just looked up the other one!
Okay, am I missing something?
We were talking about music, so rusty trombone just seemed like it fit in.
We're missing something, Kimberly.
Well, let me gather myself.
Florida is where woke goes to die, DeSantis said after his re-election victory last month. Last week, a federal judge asked his general counsel to define woke. He answered, woke is, quote, the belief...
Oh, shoot. What the hell? Shoot. Okay, let me not do that again. Good thing I'm not on my work computer. I've been in trouble.
You looked up rusty trombone on your work computer while I was...
Sorry. This is wrong.
I'm not looking it up.
No.
I didn't know you could do that.
I'm not looking it up. I don't want to know. I don't.
Only people.
For once, I might be uncomfortable.
I don't want to know that.
I'm exaggerating, but I didn't know that's what I was walking into.
Okay, so Pete, we digress. Go back to woke.
Sorry.
Last week, a federal judge asked his general counsel to define woke. He answered, woke is, this is DeSantis' lawyer, and he defined it, the belief that there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. That's how he defined it. And Vikki just, paraphrased that pretty perfectly. But the opposite, then I heard this guy on TikTok, somebody sent me this. He said, if you are a religious Christian, a white Christian, a lot of them are saying they're now persecuted. So you can't have it both ways, can you? Like, who's being persecuted? Where is the systemic injustice targeting, and how are we going to correct it, or should we correct it? It's a really weird time and question, this woke stuff. So,
but it's just about being enlightened. That's it.
It's the same thing, though, that there's a faction of society that always finds something to glom onto, whether it's, I can't even think of the welfare queen or what that guy was, Willie Horton, any of those things. It's the same thing that's constantly rehashed to scare white people. And this is what they're using to scare white people with this season is woke. And next year, it'll be something else. And the year after that, it'll be something else. It's all designed just to scare white people, to keep white people from moving toward a more just and equitable society.
Well said. I like that. And Kimberly, I heard you say it's just being enlightened. Would you guys, Francis, Karen, anything else to add to this conversation about what you hear when you hear it being used as
Can I just say this before I interrupt you again? I used to say, stay woke, be woke. Right? To me, it was something about like just being aware and in tune. I guess it's evolved, just like the thong song or bling or whatever else. Once a population, the original colonizers come and take the vernacular, it becomes something more intellectual than it's just being a state of being at that moment. I feel like I shouldn't have to define something. It is just what it is. Because if I have to define a terminology that you don't understand, then that means that this is not a conversation for you to be a part of.
Right.
I mean, so.
Anybody else on this before I move on? What you hear when you hear that?
It's there's just a population of people that's unwilling to be uncomfortable in having a conversation, and rather than face it and just have a talk about it, they would rather have a violent reaction or super negative reaction and turn it around as if, a fight for equity or a fight for just space to be is wrong. And it sucks. It sucks because, we're never going to have equality as a person from a disadvantaged community. But it's just give us the opportunity to have, what is it? Equity, not equality.
Well, how about this one real quick? Have you ever, I heard somebody say this the other day, Black people don't say that other Black people are woke. It's kind of a thing that Black folks said about white folks. I mean, we could talk about other kind of groups to be enlightened about, but it was kind of like, yeah, he's woke. And I used to, when people had said it to me, no?
It evolves.
But but I see where you're saying, Pete. And yes, it has evolved. But that's what it was kind of more of a compliment or like a statement of awareness. Like, you be woke. I can tell you to be woke. And I can also judge if you're woke because of my perspective. And then now they've turned it into this, like woke is a bad thing because they're weaponizing this word, which is so stupid. Yeah. Like, it's a word and it should be empowered. Yes. Yeah. Perverted is the word.
Yeah.
Who can I give a good example of being woke?
Please.
So I don't want to plug things, but I'm going to plug it because I was watching it. So I was watching the Harry and Meghan documentary first week. I was that person. I watched it. I watched all of it. It was interesting. But what I came out of it, and this is just the reality, and this is the reality that some privileged folks have of, who was not woke? Meghan Markle was not woke, child. She was unaware of her Blackness. And even her mom was like, she admitted that she was unaware of her Blackness because she was able to navigate in this world without having to have to identify with that. And not until her relationship and then, her marriage did she realize, oh, sweetheart, that one job rule does apply to you too. And having now that awareness and wokeness about it, I don't know if that's changed her as a person, but it did have some mental impact to her because she talked about it when she talked to Oprah, right? And so, it isn't just about white individuals. It's about privileges that you get to sit in, that people have given you, invested to you. It's not a privilege privilege can always be taken away. That's why I always tell people race is a social construct, because you could be a part of the population, the community that's the accepted minority, and then the next day you can be taken out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something around that terminology. That's why I think when white folks start using terminology that they don't know the history about, they use Ebonic words that came out of Ebonics that they don't know nothing about. I just kind of step away from those words, because it's like now you have used these words and you don't even know what you're talking about.
Right. Anybody add to that?
I ain't going to ruin that with some commentary. That was good.
So, anybody want to say anything about the situation around Britney Griner? Britney Griner. Who's Britney Griner?
Pam Grier's daughter.
Oh, I bet it is. Did you?
Do you know who she is, Pete?
She's a well-known black actress.
What was she in? What's she best known for?
The one of Quentin Tarantino's films.
Really?
Jackie Brown. That's
Foxy
really
Brown. No,
Jackie Brown was the Quentin Tarantino movie that he's referring to.
Was she?
Foxy Brown was the black exploitation movie that we're talking about. Yes,
was I right? Was
you were correct about that? But that was her in her older.
Because he don't know her other than that.
Because when it comes to movies, I have to say something.
He knew.
Oh, okay.
Give him a break. Give him a break.
We love you, Pete.
No, go ahead. You want to quiz me? Give me one more.
He already took it for the glasses store.
No.
Let's just keep going.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll get you. We can't have you ready for it.
And he's got his Wikipedia.
Oh, do I?
We can't give you time to Google.
You mean Pamela Suzette Greer, born May 26, 1949? Known for Foxy Brown. She played Link Brown. And anyway, Britney Griner, the most famous women's basketball player, black woman, gay woman. Let's not forget. I think some people forgot, but the people who didn't forget were certainly the ones making arguments that there are at least a couple of reasons not to trade for her. And one of them is black, one of them is lady, and another one is probably gay. But we're not getting inside anybody's minds. I don't mean to crawl in there and say what people are thinking. What are you all thinking about this?
I thought there is a picture of her on the airplane coming home, and the way she looked was just such like a kid when they really get something that they really wanted. And it was just the sweetest picture of her and that smile. And I just thought the hell that she'd been through, having to cut off her locks, and for some, how spiritual their hair is, especially when you're growing locks, that there's a level of intentionality when you're growing your hair that way, and the years it takes to get you to the length she had, and then having to release that hair had to be, and being somewhere where you're not speaking the language, people aren't understanding you, and you're going through that. And I just thought that smile of her on that airplane, it was like, okay, I can forget this stuff in this moment, and I can just enjoy being on my way home.
I love that. I love that reaction too. I didn't realize that they had made her cut her hair. Who else?
For me, so speaking to Frank, because I'm going to give him his props for this, but
Brother Frank,
we were trying to figure out,
speaking.
Because what's happening is there is this discourse about the Paul Whelan, he should be free. How dare they have let her go first? But what he was bringing up was the fact that Putin is he sows chaos. He enjoys this. So It could have been strategic that he chose to let her go and kind of take somebody with all of these characteristics and traits, like you were saying earlier, and let her go because it's like, oh, in America, where they're already having all these issues with race, with sexuality, with gender, I'm going to let this happen just to see how you guys handle this in America. And it's a great take. It's causing so much chaos here.
Like he didn't take her on purpose, right? For those same reasons.
Chaos demon. He loves this shit.
Well,
So can I just say, I'm not there yet with those ideas. I think that, I don't think she was being, I think that there was an opportunity that they did take her. And I do think that it was more political from the standpoint of elections than I think it had anything to do with the social constructs. I say that because for months, they were not communicating with the State Department. You had to realize, like, the Biden administration did put up the mercenary guy for Paul Whelan, and they said no, and they wouldn't say anything regarding Britney. And so my understanding is that they were really playing with the elections and wanted to see how the midterm elections was going to turn out, more so than about the social construct of race.
Well, I think both things things are true. And I think Putin always...
I think y'all think Putin has all this, like, I think you think Putin's is masterminding all this, and I don't think he's...
Whether or not Putin...
He's in the KGB. He is a mastermind.
Yeah, but you got a war going on that's about to destroy your country. I don't know if this is really where Putin's mind is about.
Oh, I think he's
the man in the high castle.
I think he absolutely is.
I think it could be both.
I think he wanted, for sure, his war was contingent, based more than anything else, on the American election. If Republicans got elected, they were more likely to not fund the Ukraine war. So it matters to him. But more importantly, even if Putin didn't have that idea, the more important point that you guys can discuss and just digest is Americans were divided to some extent over classic lines. And a lot of Americans were upset because we left an American behind and we took her. And you know what I meant by that?
But I think that Americans didn't. Why wasn't the same uproar happening over the summer? I never heard of Paul Walton until this happened. And Trevor, I remember us talking about this when we came to Britney Griner when Trevor was released.
You just said Britney Griner. You're talking about Trevor Reed and Britney Griner. But I did hear it.
Britney.
We heard it. Just because you didn't mean I didn't.
I remember us having this discord about her. His name never was brought. I don't recall this man's name being brought up.
But this makes perfect sense that this would be the thing that's now dredged up.
But that's us. That's our people.
Which is America, which is exactly
Russia.
What he did.
Hold on, but
he didn't do it.
That's the Republicans.
We do know that they have a lot of folks that are going in there, being hackers and starting shat on the internet.
Sure.
And so if they were to plant these seeds or even just ignite the little bit of whispers that are out there, that's how this spread. Because I didn't hear about this guy.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, now this is the big talking
I fully
point.
agree with you, Francis. But whether we convince Kimberly that Putin and Russians were behind any of it is I'm more interested in the divisive nature of the American reaction to it over people looking at her. Let's be like, to me, it was like people are siding with Republicans and conservatives in America are siding with Vladimir Putin over everything, not only this prisoner swap and a black woman who's gay and all that, but over like Ukraine and everything with Trump over the CIA. Like they like Putin. And it's because Putin is a strong white guy who hates gay people and identifies as a Christian, even though he's not.
Right. I just think to me, what's really disgusting is people were willing to leave her over there to die, or, you know, that would be worst case scenario. But I didn't have high hopes for her 9 years in a labor camp. But people are so willing to stand on their racism and their misogyny that they were willing to leave her over there. Like, oh, if we can't get two, we're taking none. And I think we're also forgetting what negotiating is doing. If we're asking for Paul Whelan and Britney to be released and they're saying, we're not talking about Paul Whelan, then there's nothing else they could do. They had to make the deal that they had to make. You can't leave an American over there. And I'm so disgusted by the level of, I think it's the lack of support from Black men. I was listening to Clay Kane, I think it was that same afternoon, and there were so many audibly sounding Black men, but they sounded like they were Black, that were saying, oh, she needs to just stay over there and do the time.
What's that about?
Nobody's getting 9 years for freaking vape cartridges. We are the most unprotected group out here, and it hurt. It hurt me when we should have been ecstatic that we got an American home.
I didn't hear anything from the Black community that was negative. So maybe because I intentionally don't listen to certain individuals. I listen to people that support Black women, Black thought. But what I heard was more about who was the trade with. And people felt that the person that was being traded for her freedom was too high of a cost, even though he had like 6 years left. I mean, it's like 80%, right? I mean, if you know how the federal penal system works, most people get out.
Oh, the Russian arms dealer had that many years left. Yeah.
Right. He had 6 years out of 20. So he served 14 years out of 25 years. I mean, at this point, he pretty much served the majority of his time. So him being let go isn't going to, I don't think, changes anything. But at the end of the day, people are like, well, they let him go. He's going to start another. Oh,
they don't care. If they don't like him.
Yeah, the people he armed were freaking Africans. He wasn't arming white folks. He was arming Africans.
He armed just about everybody that would buy weapons from him, because that's what arms dealers generally do. And including he proliferated Africa. That I do know. He was in that continent.
So here's the thing. Maybe we haven't heard all aspects of the arguments, but there's enough people. There was, not that I quote Politico, but I saw it on the news this morning, that it's like 46% of Americans disagree. Now, granted, we know what polls are, so I'm not saying this is gospel, but 46% of Americans were against Britney's release. Like, that's just it's disgusting.
What was the nickname of the guy? The
Merchant of Death.
Okay, when you call someone by the name of the Merchant of Death, you don't have no context.
I get it. I'm not saying it's like there's no perfect negotiation, but guess what? The United States isn't picking off people at the airport for vape cartridges and sentencing them to 9 years in labor camp. So we don't necessarily have the pieces in which we can make what would be a reasonable swap. But at the end of the day, I'm not mad. You brought an American home. Now, is it ideal? No, it's not. But were you really just gonna let this woman over there? Were you gonna just leave her out in Siberia?
You sound all, high and mighty now, Karen, but when this all went down, you texted me and said, why don't we just capture a few Russian people here?
I said, I will offer to do it because I am a mercenary of death.
You will take them, snatch Russian. Are those two people speaking Russian? Grab them. Okay.
Right. I saw this girl drinking vodka at the bar. She looked primed and ready to go.
Before I let you guys go,
can I just say one last thing? One thing I have to say is that WNBA, as an organization, the women in that organization, we talk about pay disparities when it comes to women in sports and professional sports. The women organization did not go back to Russia. Even though many of them have had lucrative careers being in that league, they did not return. Those players did not go back to Russia. However, there are men in the DC leagues who are men of American citizenship who are still playing in the Russian system.
In solidarity with Britney Griner, or out of fear for their own security, a bunch of women who could make money playing in Russia decided not to play. However, men who could make money in Russia did decide to play.
And continue to play.
So you think that if a man who was going to earn a living, it was really his one way to earn a pretty decent wage, playing basketball, playing a sport, maybe to support his family, should have not gone to do that out of solidarity with captured American WNBA star Britney Griner. He should have said no to the money.
It's an oligarch. So that's all that money is blood money.
Agreed, but at the
end of the day, yes.
I think it goes back to that when we were talking about this before, though, the fear that women live in or the respect for threats. And so if there is a threat, potentially, a lot of people, you're not going to even play with that. Right. But we do see men kind of play with that line a little bit more. And so in this case, I mean, it's like, what are you going to do to me? Try me. Maybe a guy is thinking, whereas a woman is like, nope. I saw what happened. Nope.
Right. Hell no.
Yep. Exactly.
Like it wasn't ever on the list, but by all means.
For $1 million? For $2 million?
But
nope.
The pay disparity conversation is another part of this that no one's really willing to have because the women aren't making the livable wage of a professional athlete. So they have to go overseas.
Yeah.
I mean, and then this is going to stir up all the women don't bring in the revenue, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we could make this system more equitable. We could empower. You saw the soccer teams do a collective bargaining agreement where they're going to get paid equal. And if you really think about it, the women's team is a hell of a lot better than the men have been for a very long time.
Can I just say,
so if we didn't have to go overseas because women are making $60,000 playing a sport that they have to be in tip top prime shape for and only have so many years, you ain't you're not making the bucks that you should be as a professional athlete. So it's again, systems.
Yep.
We are talking about, the byproduct, which amen, Britney's home. But the problem is that she had to pack her bags in the first place.
Can I tell you how much you'd have to pay me to go play ball in Russia, Kimberly? Can I tell you how much my price?
You can't play ball, so no.
Let's say I was pretty good. Can I tell you my price? 30 grand.
No. Because you can't play ball. So
30 grand, you're going to bring home 18 and tear your knees up.
You can't play ball. What?
So even if
you know that movie White Man Can't Jump, even though Woody Harrelson was a way better actual basketball player than Wesley Snipes.
Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Can we end on a holiday subject?
Yes. It's your show.
Well, my stand-up
do you have one,
always black.
Yeah, I was going to do a Santa thing.
All right. I always knew it was my dad and my mom, and I don't think I ever believed that there was
No. Do we have young kids listening to this podcast?
No.
It shouldn't be. That's
I just don't want to mess up nobody's life.
Spoiler alert.
They've heard
worse. Can we put a disclaimer in the notes?
The views expressed on
your interruption to Vikki did it for any parent that's intently listening with a kid in the car. So go ahead. Now that they're not listening, what happened, Vikki? That you didn't believe?
I don't believe I ever believed there was a Santa Claus that showed up. I think I always knew it was mom and dad because they would give us a catalog of the Sears or the JCPenney catalog. Shout out.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you'd go through the catalog and you circle the things that you wanted and you'd give it to them.
I did that too.
So no, I've never hopped down that road.
Frances, what was your relationship with Santa? Did you have a chimney?
No, I lived in an apartment building. It was 11 floors in Philly. And so there was no Santa unless he was jumping up on that balcony. So
what
I was
were you told?
Yeah, no, that's definitely our parents. And you would just sneak out and see them putting the stuff together. And just look at them. Like, yep, they're doing it.
Yeah. And they'd be like, get your butt back in your room.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, or else. And it's like, oh, okay. Yikes.
What?
Don't got to tell me twice. I have the Christmas spirit. I put up the tree and I believe in all that stuff. I would get the real trees. Now I get the fake trees and see.
Artificial trees.
My bad.
Karen, what were you told? What did you believe? Was your heart broken?
I honestly don't remember, but I really don't think my parents went through the effort of leaving gifts under the tree that said from Santa. There was just presents. We had a chimney. We would also have a real tree. We started having the ability to open one present on Christmas Eve. That was our little extra tradition.
Any of you ever go to a mall Santa, and sit on his lap and tell him what you wanted? Anybody do that?
I ruined it for my little cousin because he came home and he had the picture with like Black Santa. Mm-hmm. And I was like, Santa ain't black. But I didn't ruin that there wasn't a Santa, which I could have done.
Why did you tell him Santa was not black?
Because, everything that I saw, Santa was a white dude. Everything.
Wow.
We didn't know. We weren't woke then. We weren't woke then.
Anybody else said a Santa story? Did you not go? I went every year as a boy and sat on his lap and told him what I wanted.
Really?
Yep.
My parents are like, shit, we're at work.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
They work through every major holiday. They work through everything.
Kimberly, what's going on?
My father, every Christmas Eve, we will open up the chimney and he would be like, ho, ho, ho. And I'd be like, ho, ho, ho. And we would talk. He would be like, Santa's coming down the chimney. And I'd be like, oh, so excited.
Yeah.
My mom was really good at hiding presents. So I never saw them. And so it wasn't until years later where I ran into a present like in March in June or July. And then I saw it again in Christmas. I was like, I remember seeing this somewhere in this house at one point. But I appreciate I appreciate my parents keeping that spirit for me, even though it wasn't, necessary, but it was nice. It was really fun. I would go to midnight mass and then come home and there wouldn't be any Christmas trees. So they would get up really early and put the presents underneath the tree. So I enjoy that. I enjoy having that innocence.
I did too. I loved it. And I was okay with learning that it was all a lie. And I remember I even believed that reindeer were flying through the sky. I thought a couple of years my brother was like, look,
her reindeer.
My brother pointed up at the sky. He's like, those are reindeer. I was like, no. And he's like, yep. I was like, what the? Mm-hmm. Again, things are flying.
I think it's sweet if you do, but we were still always really excited to get those presents.
Oh yeah.
So I don't feel like there was anything lost.
Yeah.
Can you all quickly go to a childhood present memory that brought you like that Christmas? You got that thing and it was great. Can you do that off the top of your head? That Christmas present that you got that really made you excited, Francis? It looks like you can do it.
Yeah, I got both the Barbie like RV and a Barbie dream house.
And what year. Christmas?
I don't know if they might have been back to back. And my dad and my mom, they had done this really cool thing where they did a scavenger hunt. And so they wrote out all of the clues. You had to guess where the things were.
Oh, wow, that's fun.
And
that's a lot of work.
One of those joints, it was amazing. But this is the blessing that it is to have parents that care that much. But
my parents are like, here's your shit.
Yeah, and it would be in a bag. You're not getting something extra unwrapping. This joint was in a big black trash bag in the shower. But that doesn't matter.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
I love that. I love all that. So I don't know if you just ruined it for you, Karen, but was there a special gift that you really wanted and got, or that you can remember being excited about?
I remember roller skates.
Okay.
Because when we were teenagers, that was the thing to do. We went roller skating all the time. So I had my own skates. I was fancy. So that was fun. But I feel like I'm getting old and losing some memories. I don't really remember. We would just go, we would go to my cousin's house on Christmas Day because we always go to where the youngest kids are and just hang out and stuff. And it was nice. I look forward to quiet Christmases now.
Quiet Christmases.
Yeah. Cause I'm not around kids. Like my friends don't have young kids. They're late teens, early 20s. Usually it's dinner. I go to a brunch at somebody's house because I will stay here in Maryland versus traveling home for the holiday. Yeah, I like it. I like the quiet Christmas.
Kimberly, was there a special present morning for you?
I always got what I wanted, so no.
Oh, look at you. Yeah.
I think what was it? Nintendo, some video system, whatever video system, gaming system of that moment when I got it, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was games. Like, I was the only child.
Right.
So I have a picture of me and my cousin he and I were the same age. He's deceased, but he came from a broken home. And so my mom had him come to Christmas one year. And so it was him and I, and we're just in a sea of presents. And I guess at some point I must have told my mom, like, are these all for me? And she's like, no, some of them are for your cousin. And I was like, which ones? Because I was so used to having the whole tree full of gifts from myself. But he was like, I like this. And I said, well, this is your last year here, so enjoy it. I was young. I didn't know. I was a kid. I didn't know situations.
What do you think about this? I did not get everything I wanted. Instead, a couple of years, I got a note explaining himself why I did not get what I wanted from Santa. And then I finally was onto it because I got old enough. I was like, man, Santa's handwriting is just like mom's, which is real specific because she's left-handed and it's slanted to the left. Like, she wasn't even trying to hide that Santa script.
Hey, you will not talk about Mary Dominic like that. We will.
Well, you can take it up.
Issues.
You could take it up with Mary, as I have year after year. It was, Dear Pete. We ran out of. It was. I wanted a Snowwalker toy from Star Wars, and then she would write, maybe you should be on better behavior next year. No, she didn't.
Oh, she didn't. Love Cole for Pete.
But you know what? You know what Christmas always included? Some good R&B Christmas songs.
Nope, not in my house.
Facts.
Nope.
You should try it.
You should try it.
Vicki, did we get your Christmas morning?
No, you didn't.
Now, it was probably Christmas. Like one of those wooden rocking horses or something, or what did you get? Something whittled?
I got a whistle.
A radio flyer.
No, just a whistle.
No, was it the radio flyers?
No, from the Cracker Jack box, just the whistle. No, my one that was really impactful was I wanted this Chrissy doll, and if you knew anything about this doll, is her hair would grow, so you crank this thing and make her hair short, and she would have like a little bob, or you could crank it the other way and her hair would grow and it'd be like down to her butt. And I wanted this Chrissy doll so bad. And I'm like doing all my chores and making sure everything that needs to be done is done. And my mom told us the night before that, we're not going to get the Christmas we expected. It's just going to be, little things. And we're just going to show how much we love and appreciate each other. So all the things that you guys have made us, that's what we're going to feature, all of those kind of things. And then when we got up that morning, my Chrissy doll was featured prominently right in front of the tree. And
wonderful.
I'm getting emotional.
That is so much better than the whistle that you told us you got.
It was such a sweet gesture that my mom and dad did. They had this wonderful way. They had this wonderful way of making each of us feel special. And they did. They made us feel special. And they just made me feel so special that day. So that was it.
Well.
And then I blew my whistle.
I was going to say, did you cut off her hair at any point? That was kind of a thing.
No, but it's a twisty thing. And over time, it's really just the hair rolling up on a little spool. And over time,
don't ruin it for
ratty.
Me, Vicki. Don't ruin it.
Oh, sorry. It gets ratty over time, and then you end up having to cut it. And then, of course, you get a marker and try and color it because she was blonde. But that was it.
Well, that was a wonderful ending to another great conversation with you ladies. Thank you so much for talking to me. Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
All right, well, there you go, everybody. That is the end of the conversation. Sorry I didn't get everybody in there saying Merry Christmas. We actually went off on another tangent that was just a whole other thing that I ended. I just thought it was a poignant ending right there. And what a wonderful moment that Vikki gives us at the end. But so many laughs, great analysis on several different issues, and always a lot of fun, poking fun and having fun at each other's expense. I mean, they are all so funny and so smart, and we're a pretty close-knit group at this point, so I love it. I really look forward to it. I know they do, and I hope that you do as well. If you want to contact them or get to know them, all of their social media stuff is in the show notes, and you can meet them, at least virtually, on the Hangouts, because usually all four of them, or at least a couple of them, the ladies from the Hue, are at the Hangouts on Thursday night. So hope to see you there, and I hope, again, that you appreciated that special bonus weekend edition of Stand Up with the ladies from the Hue.
Stand up, you gotta stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear when all you hear is a lie. So get up off of your butt, get down off of your fence. And even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. What you're laying down, oh, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. This is the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. While you lying awake wondering where the money all went, it'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right, we got to speak up, we got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand